The letter he never expected. Keanu Reeves sat in the corner of a small coffee shop in downtown Los Angeles, far from the lights, far from the noise. It was a quiet place where he liked to hide away from the world, away from the cameras, the pressure, and the weight of being who he was. He wore a dark hoodie, jeans, and the same worn-out boots he always did. Most people didn't notice him here, and that's how he liked it. He stared at the black coffee in front of him, untouched. His thoughts were far away, drifting into a past he rarely allowed himself to visit. He had been filming for weeks, pushing his body through long hours, stunts, and scenes. But today, something felt different. Something pulled at his heart. A quiet take he hadn't felt in years. Then his phone buzzed. He almost didn't check it, but something made him reach out, something quiet and soft, like a whisper. From long ago. The screen showed an unfamiliar number and one simple message. "Hi Keanu, it's me, Emily." His hand froze. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. He blinked, staring at the words as if they might vanish. He read it again, and again. The name hit him like a wave, soft but powerful. Emily. It had been 20 years. She was his first love. Not a Hollywood love, not a love written into a script or whispered on a red carpet. She was the girl he met before any of this, before fame, before pain, before he became the man the world now knew. They were both young, broke, and hopeful back then. They met at a bookstore where Emily worked, and Keanu used to wander in looking for used novels and quiet. They shared coffee, long walks, laughter in the rain. She knew him before the world did, and when she looked at him, he never felt like an actor or a name on a screen. He felt real. But time did what time does. His career took off. Hers didn't. She stayed behind, choosing a life of simplicity, working with children, teaching music, helping others. Their paths split quietly, without drama, without anger, just distance. And then silence. Keanu never forgot her, even when his name was on posters around the world, even when fans screamed and flashbulbs blinded him. There were nights when he'd lie awake and think about her laugh, her hands, her calm. And now, after 20 years, a message, 3 words, and her name. His fingers trembled slightly as he typed her reply. "Emily, is it really you?" The response came quickly. "Yes, I saw your new interview. You talked about your past, and you mentioned the old bookstore. I just wanted to say, I never forgot either." Keanu felt a tightness in his throat. He glanced around the cafe. No one knew what was happening. No one saw the storm of emotions inside him. They just saw a man in a hoodie, staring at his phone. "Can we meet?" he typed. She didn't respond immediately. Minutes passed. Then came a simple reply. "Yes, but there's something I need to tell you first." Keanu stared at those words. His mind began to race. Something about the way she said it, so soft, so unsure, sent a chill through him. What had the years done to her? What was she carrying? His thoughts were interrupted when the waitress brought over a new coffee, mistaking him for someone else. He nodded politely, but his mind was elsewhere. His heart was pounding. He hadn't felt like this in years, maybe decades. Outside, it started to rain, gentle at first, like a memory. He watched the drops slide down the window, each one pulling him deeper into the past. He remembered her in the rain, spinning with joy in a park in Toronto, arms wide, laughing as if nothing in the world could ever go wrong. She had no umbrella. He offered his jacket. She refused. "You don't hide from the rain," she once said. "You dance in it." He smiled, just slightly, as the memory washed over him. But then his phone buzzed again. Her message was short. "Meet me at the old bookstore, tomorrow, 5 p.m. And Keanu, please be ready." His fingers hovered over the screen, unsure what to say. "I'll be there." He sent it. Then he leaned back and stared out the window again. The rain was heavier now, louder, like a heartbeat growing stronger. He had no idea what waited for him, no idea what Emily meant. But deep inside, something stirred, something old, something real. And for the first time in years, Keanu Reeves felt nervous. Not because of a movie, not because of a premiere, but because real love might be walking back into his life, and it might come with something he never expected. Something that would change everything. Asterisk the bookstore. And the secret. Keanu arrived at the old bookstore 15 minutes early. He parked far from the entrance, trying to calm his nerves. He wasn't used to feeling this way. Not anymore. He had faced directors, cameras, stunts, dangerous scenes, but none of that compared to this moment standing outside a place filled with memories and waiting for someone who once held his entire heart. The sky above was soft gray, the kind of sky that whispered rain was coming again. But the streets were dry, quiet, peaceful. He walked slowly toward the bookstore door, every step heavy with years of questions. Would she look the same? Would she smile the same? Had life been kind to her? Was she alone? Inside, the air smelled just the same. Old books, wooden shelves, a hint of lavender from the little bowl near the counter. It felt like stepping back in time, like stepping into a memory he thought he had lost forever. And then there she was. Emily stood by the far shelf, her fingers gently brushing over the spine of a poetry book. Her hair was a little shorter. There were fine lines near her eyes. But her presence, it hadn't changed. The way she stood, the way she moved, he knew it instantly. "Emily," he said softly. She turned slowly. Her eyes widened as they met his. Then she smiled. Not a Hollywood smile, not forced, not polished, but the kind of smile that reaches deep into your soul and warms the corners. That had been cold too long. "Keanu," she said. They didn't hug. Not at first. They just looked at each other, letting 20 years of silence melt quietly between them. The world seemed to pause. The sound of a turning page, the soft creak of the wooden floor, a bell ringing faintly outside. It all faded. Finally, Keanu spoke. "I wasn't sure you'd come. I wasn't sure I should," she replied honestly. "But something told me it's time." They sat near the window, just like they used to. There were stilted chairs there. The same round table. Nothing had changed. "You look good," she said, smiling gently. "You look like you," he replied. She laughed softly. "You always say things like that. Simple, honest. I miss that." He looked at her with eyes filled with questions. "You said there's something I need to be ready for." Her smile faded slightly. She looked down at her hands, then back up at him. Her eyes were moist but steady. "I didn't come here just to say hello," she said. "I came because I've been carrying something for a long time, and it's not fair to keep it from you anymore." Keanu leaned in, silent, listening with his whole heart. Emily continued. "After you left for Hollywood, we lost touch. I didn't try to stop you. I didn't want to hold you back. You had something beautiful ahead, and you deserved it." "Emily," he began, but she raised her hand gently. "Let me finish," she said softly. "A few months after you left, I found out I was pregnant." Keanu froze. Everything in the room slowed. His breath caught. Emily looked away for a moment, then back at him. "I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to bring you back from your dream. And then things got complicated. I moved away, started over, raised him alone." "Him," Keanu whispered. "Yes," she said, voice trembling. "His name is Elijah. He's 19 now, kind, thoughtful, plays guitar. He doesn't know who you are, not really. I told him his father was a kind man who had to follow a dream. I never told him your name. I wanted to protect him, and protect you too." Keanu sat in stunned silence. He blinked several times, trying to absorb her words. You have a son," he finally said. "And I have a son." "Yes," she said, nodding, tears now slipping down her cheeks. "And I know it's a lot, but you deserve to know." Keanu leaned back, staring out the window. The sky had started to darken, rain threatening once again. But inside him, a storm had already begun. Emily reached across the table and gently touched his hand. "I'm not asking for anything," she whispered. "No support, no drama, no headlines. I just thought, maybe it's time he met the man he came from. Not the actor, not the star, just Keanu." He turned his hand and held hers. His voice was low, steady. "Thank you for telling me. I don't even know what to say. I missed so much, but I want to meet him, if you'll let me. He's outside," she said quietly. Keanu's single quotes as heart skipped. "What?" He wanted to come with me. He doesn't know who you are. He thinks I'm meeting an old friend. I told him to wait outside while we talked." Keanu stood up slowly, as if every muscle was waking up for the first time in years. He took a deep breath. "I want to meet him," he said again, firmer now. Emily nodded. She stood too, wiped her tears, and walked toward the door. As they stepped outside, the air was cool, the street was quiet, and there, standing under a street lamp, was a young man with dark hair, a guitar strapped to his back, and gentle eyes that looked strangely familiar. Emily turned to Keanu. "That's Elijah." Keanu took one slow step forward. Elijah looked up. His eyes met Keanu's. Something flickered in that instant, something unspoken. Keanu didn't speak. He didn't need to. Somewhere deep inside him, he already knew this was his son, and everything was about to change. Face to face with the past, Keanu took a deep breath and slowly walked toward the boy, the young man who stood quietly beneath the street lamp. Elijah had one hand in his jacket pocket and the other resting gently on the neck of his guitar. He looked calm, but curious. He had his mother's posture and her thoughtful eyes, but there was something else, something in the way he held himself, quiet, still, grounded. It was like looking into a mirror Keanu didn't know existed. Emily walked beside Keanu, her hands slightly trembling. This moment wasn't just about the two of them anymore. It was about a boy who had grown up with questions, and a man who had just discovered a part of his soul he never knew he was missing. "Elijah," she said gently. "This is my old friend. His name is Keanu." Elijah smiled politely and stepped forward. "Hey, nice to meet you." Keanu extended his hand. "Hi, Elijah. It's good to meet you too." They shook hands. A strange silence followed. Not awkward, not cold, just filled with the weight of things unsaid. "Mom said you used to come to this bookstore a lot," Elijah said, looking up at the windows glowing behind them. "Yeah," Keanu replied softly. "It was my favorite place. Still is. She loves it here too," Elijah said with a small grin. "She used to read me stories when I was little. Sometimes she made me believe the books were magic." Keanu smiled. "She's good at that." They all stood for a moment, letting the sounds of the city wash over them. A soft breeze moved through the trees, carrying the scent of rain and memories. Emily looked at her son. "Elijah, why don't you talk for a bit? I'll wait inside." Elijah looked surprised. Okay, sure." Emily gave Keanu a gentle nod and stepped back into the warm light of the bookstore, leaving them both under the street lamp. Keanu cleared his throat, trying to find words that wouldn't sound too heavy. "So, guitar, yeah," Elijah said, tapping the case gently. "I write songs, mostly folk and soft rock. Nothing too flashy." Keanu chuckled softly. "Sounds like something I'd listen to." Elijah smiled. "Cool." There was a pause again. Keanu shifted slightly. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you ever wonder about your dad?" Elijah looked down, then shrugged. "I used to, a lot. When I was younger, Mom said he was kind, said he had to follow a dream. I always hoped he was doing something important." Keanu felt his chest tighten. "And lately?" he asked. "I guess I stopped thinking about it as much. I've got school, work, music. But sometimes, late at night, I still wonder what kind of man he was, if he ever thought about me." Keanu nodded slowly. "He did." He whispered. Elijah glanced at him. "What do you mean?" Keanu looked him straight in the eyes. "Elijah, I didn't know you existed until yesterday. If I had, I don't know what would have happened. But I would have tried. I would have wanted to be there." Elijah's eyes widened. His breath caught. What are you saying?" Keanu stepped forward, his voice low, steady. "I'm your father." The words hung in the air. A full minute passed, maybe more. Elijah didn't speak, didn't move. The sound of a distant car horn and a siren far away barely touched the moment. Then, Elijah blinked. You're serious?" "Yes," Keanu said. "Emily told me yesterday, and I didn't want to keep it from you. I didn't want to start this with lies." Elijah stared at the ground, then at the bookstore, then back at Keanu. "You're KeanuReeves," he said slowly, as if the truth was sinking in piece by piece. "The actor, I am. But before all of that, I was just a guy who loved your mom. Elijah laughed quietly, more from shock than humor. This is a lot. I know, Keanu said gently, and I'm not here to force anything. You've got a life. You've got music. I just want to know you, if you let me. Elijah looked at him, really looked at him now. You seem real, he said. Keanu smiled. I'm just a man trying to catch up on 19 years. There was another pause, but this one was softer, easier. You want to grab some food? Elijah asked suddenly. Keanu raised his eyebrows. Now, yeah, Elijah said, shrugging. There's a taco truck down the street. I go there all the time. Best carne asada you'll ever taste. Keanu laughed. I'm in. They walked down the street together, side by side. No press, no cameras, just a man and his son. At the taco truck, they sat on a bench, to plates in their laps. Elijah talked about his music, the songs he'd written, his part-time job at a record store. Keanu listened like every word was a note in a song he'd been waiting to hear his whole life. They laughed, they ate, and slowly, something warm began to form between them. A bond, a connection, a beginning. After they finished eating, Keanu walked him back toward the bookstore. Emily stood at the door, her eyes filled with emotion. How'd it go? She asked. Elijah looked at her, then at Keanu. He's not what I expected, he said. Keanu smiled nervously. Elijah grinned. He's better. Emily let out a soft laugh, tears welling in her eyes. Keanu turned to Elijah. Can I see you again? Elijah nodded. Yeah, I'd like that. Keanu reached out, and this time, they hugged. It wasn't long. It wasn't loud. But it was real. When they pulled apart, Keanu looked at him and said, You're everything I hoped for. Elijah's voice cracked a little. Thanks, Dad. And with that one word, Keanu Reeves felt something shift inside him. A space that had been empty for years was now full. Full of possibility. Full of healing. Full of love. The guitar and the promesa canoe couldn't sleep that night. He sat by the window of his quiet home, wrapped in a blanket, watching the city lights shimmer through the rain. He held an old photo in his hand, a picture of him and Emily from the early days. They were laughing in the rain, soaked, but happy. It was taken just a week before he left for Hollywood. And now, after 2 decades, he had met his son, a son with a gentle voice, a calm spirit, and a guitar slung across his back like it had always belonged there. Keanu thought about Elijah's eyes, the way he listened, the way he smiled. He felt something stir deep in his chest, something heavy but beautiful. Regret, but also hope. The next morning, Keanu called Emily. Hey, she said, her voice calm. Thank you, he said, for yesterday, for telling me. I was scared, she admitted, but I'm glad I did. Me too. He's been quiet, she continued. Not upset, just thoughtful. Can I see him again? Keanu asked. You don't need my permission, Keanu. He's old enough now. Talk to him. Be there. Those words stuck with Keanu. Be there. He messaged Elijah that afternoon. Want to hang out? A few minutes later, a reply came. Sure, can you come by the record store? Around 5. I've got a shift. Keanu grinned. When he arrived, Elijah was behind the counter, sorting vinyl. The shop was dimly lit, cozy, and filled with the warm hum of old speakers. Jez was playing softly in the background. Hey, Elijah said casually, as if it were just another day. Keanu nodded. Nice place. Yeah, smells like old dreams. And scratched records. Keanu laughed. That's kind of poetic. I try. There was a brief pause, then Elijah added, So, you like music? I do, Keanu said. Always have. I even played in a band for a while. Elijah's eyes lit up. Seriously, yeah. We weren't famous, but we had fun. What? Did you play bass guitar? Elijah smiled wide. No way. I've been trying to learn bass. I play acoustic mostly, but bass, that's a different vibe. Keanu smiled. I could teach you, if you want. Elijah looked at him, a hint of disbelief in his eyes. You do that? Of course. Keanu said softly. I want to know you and share things with you. They talked for a while longer. About music, about life, About movies, though, Elijah didn't bring up Keanu's films much. He wasn't starstruck, and that, somehow, made everything feel more real. Before leaving the shop, Keanu bought a record, old folk music, something simple. As he handed Elijah the cash, he smiled and said, "Keep the change." Elijah laughed. "That's only a $2 tip. It's not about the amount," Keanu replied. "It's about the rhythm." They both laughed. As they walked outside, the sun had just started to dip, casting orange light over the sidewalk. "So," Keanu said, "how about a lesson tomorrow? Bring your guitar. I'll bring mine." "Yeah," Elijah said, "that sounds cool." They agreed to meet in a nearby park, the same one Keanu used to walk with Emily years ago. The next day, Keanu arrived early. He sat on a bench with his old bass guitar beside him. It had scratches and chips in the paint, but it still played like it used to. When Elijah arrived, his guitar was slung over his shoulder, and he had a notebook full of lyrics in his hand. They sat under a big tree. The grass was wet from last night's rain, and birds chirped in the distance. Keanu handed Elijah a pick. "First things first," he said, "feel the beat in your chest. Don't force it. Let it move you." They played for over an hour. Sometimes they laughed when notes were wrong. Sometimes they sat in silence, letting the sound of strings and wind blend together. At one point, Elijah stopped playing and looked at Keanu. "You know," he said, "when I was little, I used to dream about my dad being a musician." Keanu smiled. "Well, I guess your dream wasn't too far off." Elijah grinned. "Yeah." As they packed up, Elijah handed Keanu his notebook. "Can you read one of my songs?" Keanu opened it and read the first few lines. "I walk in echoes. I don't understand searching for footsteps in dust-covered sand. You are a shadow I never could find. But now you are real, and the silence is kind." Keanu's hand trembled slightly. "This is beautiful," he said. Elijah looked at him. "I wrote that yesterday, after we met." Keanu closed the notebook carefully. "Can I keep this?" he asked. "Only if you promise to come to my open mic next Friday." Keanu smiled. "I'll be front row." They hugged again. This time, it lasted longer. Not a reunion hug, but a father and son hug. A connection that was growing, steady, honest. Later that night, Keanu sat at home with the notebook in his lap. He flipped through pages filled with emotion, lyrics, little drawings, and scribbles. He realized something important. This young man wasn't just his son. He was an artist, a storyteller, a mirror of the quiet heart Keanu had kept hidden from the world. And Keanu made a promise that night. He would never miss another moment, not another birthday, not another song, not another chance to show his son that love, real love, stays. Voices in the crowd's small cafe was packed, not with celebrities or reporters, but with people who loved music, stories, and raw emotion. The open mic night was held every Friday, tucked into a corner of the city where dreams were still allowed to be small and honest. The room smelled like coffee, cinnamon pastries, and old wooden chairs. String lights were hanging across the ceiling, and soft murmurs filled the air. Keanu sat quietly near the back, wearing his usual hoodie and jeans. No one had recognized him, at least not yet, and he preferred it that way. Tonight wasn't about him. Tonight was about Elijah. He watched from a distance as his son stood near the stage, holding his guitar, quietly tuning it. He was calm, but Keanu could see the nervous tapping of his fingers on the fretboard. It was a small sign, something only a father would notice. Emily sat beside Keanu. She reached over and squeezed his hand. "Thank you for coming," she whispered. "I wouldn't miss it," he replied. When Elijah's name was called, a few polite claps followed. He stepped up slowly, adjusted the mic, and looked out over the crowd. He didn't look at Keanu. Not yet. He looked nervous. Then he took a breath, smiled, and spoke into the mic. "Hi, everyone. I'm Elijah. This is a song I wrote last week. It's called The Space Between the Silence." He strummed once, and then it began. His voice was soft at first, like a secret. Then it grew stronger, not loud but full, deep, filled with words that didn't need to be explained. Keanu leaned forward, his heart tightening with every line. The song was about a boy who grew up wondering who he was. A boy who walked beside shadows, who learned to laugh without asking too many questions, who looked into mirrors and tried to find a piece of someone he'd never met. And then, one day, the boy found him, not through headlines, not through stories. But through a guitar string, a smile, a silent promise. Keanu's single quotes as eyes welled up, but he didn't blink. Elijah played with his eyes closed, lost in the moment. And when he sang the final lines, there was no noise in the room, only breath, only feeling. And now that you're here, the silence is gone. You were the missing line in every song. When the last note rang out, the room was still. Then applause. Loud, honest, rising like a wave of warmth. Keanu clapped too, but slowly, silently, from the chest. Not just the hands. Elijah opened his eyes, scanned the room. And when his gaze met Keanu's, something passed between them. Not words, not even a nod. Just understanding. After the show, people congratulated Elijah. Some offered compliments. A few asked about his lyrics. Keanu waited outside. Elijah came out 10 minutes later, his guitar strapped to his back, his eyes glowing. "You killed it," Keanu said. Elijah grinned. "Thanks." They walked down the sidewalk, side by side again. "Those lyrics," Keanu said, "they were honest. They had to be," Elijah replied. "That's the only way I know how to write." Keanu looked at him, his chest full of pride. "You have a gift. I got it from Mom." Keanu laughed. "Maybe. But the way you play, that came from somewhere else too." They reached the edge of the street and stopped at a crosswalk. Cars passed. The city hummed. "Can I ask you something?" Elijah said suddenly. "Anything. Why did you never try to find her?" Keanu looked down. "I thought about her every day," he said. "But I didn't know how to go back. I was afraid I'd hurt her, that too much time had passed, that I had become someone she wouldn't recognize anymore." Elijah nodded. "She never hated you. Not even once. I know that now," Keanu whispered. "But back then, I didn't trust myself." They walked again in silence for a while. Then Elijah stopped near a bench and sat. Keanu joined him. "I've got another question," Elijah said, more hesitant this time. "Go ahead." "Why? Are you still alone?" Keanu blinked. Elijah continued. "I mean, you're famous. People adore you. You've got everything. But you seem alone." Keanu took a long breath. "I lost someone," he said quietly. "Someone I loved deeply. And for a long time. I didn't think I could ever love again. Not like that. Was it after Mom?" "Yes," Keanu nodded. "She was everything. But life took her away, and after that, I closed a part of myself. But now," Keanu looked at his son, really looked at him. "Now I feel that part opening again. Because of you. Because of your mother. Because maybe love never dies. Maybe it just waits." Elijah didn't speak. Instead, he reached into his guitar case and pulled out a small black pick. "This belonged to my first guitar," he said. "Cheap plastic, worn down, but it's lucky. It got me through every performance." He handed it to Keanu. Keanu took it, turning it over in his fingers. "Thank you," he said. "You helped me find my voice," Elijah replied. "Maybe now it can help you find yours." They stood again and started walking toward the train station. Before they parted ways, Elijah turned and asked, "Are you seeing her again?" Keanu smiled softly. "Your mother? I hope so." Elijah nodded. "You should." "Why's that?" "Because I see the way you look at her, and she looks back the same." Keanu laughed gently. "You always this wise." Elijah smirked. "Only when it matters." As the train doors closed, Keanu watched his son disappear into the night, and he felt something he hadn't felt in a very long time. Not just happiness, but peace. And somewhere, in the notebook Keanu still carried in his coat pocket, were words, waiting to become a song they'd write together. A song about second chances, and how love, no matter how long it takes, always finds its way home. The song they wrote together. Morning light filtered through Keanu's kitchen window, soft and golden. Birds chirped in the garden outside, and the smell of freshly brewed coffee filled the room. He sat at the wooden table with Elijah's notebook in front of him. His fingers gently turned the pages, pausing now and then to read a lyric, a thought, or a little drawing in the corner. He had read every page twice already. He looked up as a quiet knock echoed through the hallway. His heart skipped a beat. It wasn't a loud knock, not urgent, just gentle. Like her. He opened the door, and there she stood. Emily, wearing a navy blue sweater, jeans, and a shy smile. Her hair tucked behind her ears, eyes a little tired, but still filled with that same soft light he remembered from years ago. "Hi," she said. Double quotes, "hi." He whispered. They stood there for a moment, caught between past and present, time and memory. Then Keanu stepped aside, and she walked in. "I wasn't sure if you'd come," he said as he closed the door. "Neither was I," she replied. But Elijah said, maybe it was time. They sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Keanu had once imagined family dinners. Laughter, music, stories. Now, maybe that dream wasn't so far away. Emily looked at the notebook. "He's always writing," she said. "Since he was 9, said it helps him feel less alone." Keanu nodded. "He's brilliant. He gets that from you." Keanu smiled gently. "He gets his heart from you." They both fell silent. The kind of silence that isn't uncomfortable but sacred. Like two souls listening to something only they could hear. Then Keanu spoke, voice barely above a whisper. "I never stopped thinking about you." Emily looked up. "I mean it," he continued. "I thought I had to let you go, to protect you, to protect myself, but it only made the silence louder." Emily reached across the table and touched his hand. "I never hated you, Keanu. Not even for a moment." His eyes watered. "I missed everything. His first word, his first step, his music. You're here now," she said, "and he knows you. That matters more than anything." Keanu nodded. "I want to be part of his life, not just a guest, not just a name. Then be part of mine too," she said softly. Those words so simple, so human, broke something open in him. Not pain, not regret, but healing. Pure, honest healing. Keanu stood, walked to the living room, and came back holding his old bass guitar. "I want to play something," he said. "Something we used to dream about." Emily watched as he tuned the strings. Then he reached for the notebook and found a blank page. He scribbled a few words, then passed it to her. She read it, slowly. "I walked away when I should have stayed, but love kept the light on even when we lost our way." Emily stared at the page, then picked up a pen. She added her own words. "Now the silence is softer, and the sky's not so wide. You came back with the sunrise, and stood by my side." They looked at each other. No cameras, no audience, just two hearts remembering what it meant to feel again. Keanu played the bass slowly, the notes warm and deep. Emily hummed along, her voice still soft but strong. A few hours later, Elijah walked in. He stopped in the doorway. "You wrote a song?" he asked, surprised. Keanu smiled. "We did." Emily held up the notebook. "Want to add a verse?" Elijah stepped forward, took the pen, and without hesitation, added a line. "And now we are music not broken, not torn, just 3 beating hearts in a song newly born." They played together that afternoon. 3 guitars, 3 voices. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. In the days that followed, everything changed, but not in a dramatic, Hollywood kind of way. It changed in quiet mornings, in shared meals, in long walks, in messages from Elijah with new lyrics, in old pictures brought out of dusty boxes, in small, steady steps toward a future none of them thought they'd have. Keanu didn't announce his son to the world. There were no interviews, no headlines, only one post, simple and silent, a photo of 3 guitars leaning against a bench in the park, with one caption, "We found the missing notes, and the world didn't need to understand, because the people who mattered already did." Months later, Elijah was invited to perform at a local music festival. He played the song they wrote, and when he finished, the audience stood, not because he was famous, but because the truth in his voice couldn't be ignored. Backstage, Keanu waited with a proud smile. He hugged his son tightly. "You owned that stage," he said. "I had the best writers." Elijah replied with a grin. Later that night, as they walked together under the stars, Emily took Keanu's hand. "Thank you for coming back," she whispered. Keanu looked at her, then at Elijah, then at the sky. Thank you for waiting. And just like that, the story that began with silence and distance ended with harmony and homed out a father, a mother, a son, and a song that healed them all.